The stories you are about to see are real. The rewards up to $5 million are real. This is Crime Reports and Rewards with Griff Griffin and Dave Michaels, where you stay anonymous, the criminals don't. And now, this Crime Reports and Rewards special report.
Recent falling crime stats would indicate that crime has gone down. This trend is impacting police pay, as some say they just aren't needed as much since crime went down. Now it's even affecting law enforcement grants. Unfortunately, hidden in these stats are the ugly truth that so many victims are retaliated against by criminals that many just won't call the cops anymore. News footage of retaliating against crime victims has chilled the trust citizens have in their fellow man. Because of this, many crimes are going unreported, and even if they are reported, some want to win the argument about their being right and you being wrong. Even if that means a crime victim is accused of a crime or blamed with a crime because someone they reported the crime to didn't like something about how the victim reported the crime. This is where Crime Stoppers comes in. When you call Crime Stoppers 800-222-TIPS line, no one will ever know who you are, so they can't retaliate. Tell your friends and share with everyone everywhere. When you call one of Crime Stoppers' TIPS line, like the 803-441-8744 text line, you will never be asked your name. You'll receive a confidential code you use to remain anonymous, but still report crime. If you want to stop crime but don't want to end up in a witness protection program, remain anonymous and unretaliated against by calling Crime Stoppers. When you take out the bad boys with Crime Stoppers, no one will ever know who you are.
Also tonight, the director of Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers standing by his principals, refusing to turn over an anonymous tip to a judge by literally eating it. Yep, there it goes, right there into his mouth. And now that cop is being held in contempt. Local 10 News reporter Victor Okendo is live at Crime Stoppers headquarters in Doral to explain this one.
Lori, after years on the force, Richard Mastin joined Crime Stoppers in 2008. Now he's standing up for something that he believes in, and unless he stands down, he faces up to 14 days in jail.
How far would you go to protect something you believe in?
The issue is the court asking Crime Stoppers to go back to their promise.
Yes, that's paper that former cop Dick Mastin munched on Friday. Why? Because Mastin is the executive director of Crime Stoppers Miami, and he refused Judge Victoria Brennan's order to divulge information from a tip.
I was afraid that I was going to be taken into custody and that would be part of the property, and there it goes. So I had a little lunch.
That lunch contained details about the tip and tipster that had called Crime Stoppers, and it's now making its way through Mastin's system.
With all due respect to you, I think your client's very passionate about it. But I think sometimes passion can cloud judgment.
We promise the people that give us information to solve murders, serious violent crimes in this community, that they can call us with an assurance that they will remain anonymous and that nothing about them or their information will ever be compromised.
This all stems from a cocaine possession charge. The state versus Lisette Alvarez.
There's absolutely no information that I am looking for that has to do with the name or the identity of a tipster. It's only the evidence that would be used in trial against her that the tipster provided.
A defendant could work that case backwards and put the tipster at peril, and I'm not going to let that happen.
How'd that taste?
It's pretty dry, to tell you the truth.
And Mastin has until Thursday to decide on whether or not he will give up that tip sheet. But he told our Local 10 crime specialist, John Turchin, that next time he sees a judge, he'll just bring his toothbrush. Doesn't sound like he'll be giving up too much information anytime soon. We're in Doral. I'm Victor Okendo, Local 10 News.
The two black males you see on your screen are wanted for questioning in connection to a burglary that occurred on Pineview Drive in Augusta on 9/5/14. They may have been watching the house to see when the homeowner left, because after they left, they drove by a couple of times to make sure nobody else was there and then pulled in. Some on our Augusta Crime Stoppers Facebook page thought police computers would be able to clear up and read the tag, since it was in the video quite a while. Watch the videos we have of these burglars and see if you recognize the way they move and walk. If you see someone matching their description trying to sell you a laptop or anything, it may be stolen merchandise that can get you in trouble too. They're driving a silver in color 2014 Dodge Journey. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office needs your help identifying and locating these two black male suspects. If you think you know who or where they may be, please call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office, Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text and email your tips to 803-441-8744, or tips at AugustaCrimeStoppers.org, where you remain anonymous and keep burglars out of your bedroom. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office Fraud Division needs your help finding the black male financial transaction card fraud suspect you see on your screen. The suspect drove up to the Regions ATM located at 2507 Peach Orchard Road on 819 and took money out using a stolen card number. Scanners are now available that can scan your card numbers from your wallet without you ever taking the card out of your wallet or purse or almost anywhere else you're carrying it. If you think you know who or where this credit card fraud may be, please call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office at 706-821-1020, Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text your tips to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous and you keep your money. Please refer to case number 2014-21-43-24 when tipping on this case. Hepzibah Police need your help finding the white male suspect you see on your screen. Video captured this white male suspect stealing a golf cart from a Hepzibah McBean home. The unidentified white male, who walks with a limp, was seen limping up the driveway at 1248 Hepzibah McBean Road around 5:30 a.m. on September 2nd and left in the green 2006 E-Z-Go golf cart. The stolen golf cart has a tan roof and cream-colored seats. The front of the cart has a spreader with a set of deer antlers. A rubber deer head is on the rear trailer hitch. If you know who or where this white male suspect that walks with a limp may be, please call the police. Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text your tips to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous and keep your stuff. Richmond County Sheriff's deputies report on the morning of Sunday, August 24th, two male subjects in an older model black and color Ford Explorer were captured on video surveillance driving through the neighborhood in and around the 3100 block of Brindle Drive. That's in the Beverly Heights Drive area. The two male subjects were seen backing the Ford Explorer up into the yard at 3112 Brindle Drive and hooking up one utility trailer containing lawn equipment. The two male subjects were then seen leaving 3112 Brindle Drive with the utility trailer and lawn equipment. The vehicle is an older model Ford Explorer, approximately 1997 to 2004 year model, black in color, and will have a trailer hitch on the rear. Anyone with information regarding this case or the identity of the two male subjects are asked to call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office at 706-821-1080, Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text your tips to 803-441-8744. where you remain anonymous and keep your stuff.
And now, this Crime Reports and Rewards special report.
Reward in case of double kidnapping homicide increased to $20,000. The Atlanta Police Department and Crime Stoppers Greater Atlanta has increased the reward for information related to a double kidnapping and homicide which occurred in DeKalb and Fulton Counties August 30th. Atlanta police say that Captain Paul DeRossi will speak to the media outside the Atlanta Public Safety Headquarters at 226 Peachtree Street. He'll discuss the murders of Brianna Brooks and Duranta Brown and inform the public that the reward for information in the case has increased to $20,000. Family members of Brooks and Brown may be present during this announcement. According to investigators, Brooks and Brown came home about 12:30 on August 30th when they were abducted, handcuffed, and thrown into a van by an unknown number of kidnappers. The two were then driven to Ridge Avenue in northwest Atlanta, removed from the van, and shot while still handcuffed. The two were discovered at approximately 4:30 a.m. Brown was dead when police arrived, but Brooks survived the shooting but was taken to the hospital. Brooks, who was pregnant, did not recover and was taken off life support on September 4th. Her baby girl survived and was delivered safely, however. If you have any information that can help investigators with this case, please contact Crime Stoppers Greater Atlanta by calling 404-577-TIPS. Or you can call Crime Stoppers here at 800-222-TIPS or text your tip to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous and unmurdered.
And now, this Crime Reports and Rewards special report.
And now for our continuing segment on white-collar crime. Basically, white-collar crime is lying, cheating, and stealing. That's white-collar crime in a nutshell. The term, reportedly coined in 1939, is now synonymous with the full range of frauds committed by business and government professionals. It's not a victimless crime. A single scam can destroy a company, devastate families by wiping out their life savings, or cost investors billions of dollars, or even all three, as in the Enron case. Today's fraud schemes are more sophisticated than ever, and we're dedicated to using our skills to track down the culprits and stop scams before they start. Augusta Crime Stoppers is one of the leading white-collar crime investigative units here in the area. Currently, the biggest white-collar crime in this area is a conspiracy to steal the Marina contract. This week, the Metro Spirit got it right by printing both sides of the basically conspiracy to steal the Marina contract. What's happening is the Marina does not want to continue paying money to what they suspect is a criminal enterprise. Stay tuned for more on that. And just in case you haven't heard, there is right now more suspicion of government employees abusing their power, not obeying the law, and all kinds of craziness going on. The FBI says public corruption is their top priority among criminal investigations, and for good reason. Public corruption poses a fundamental threat to our national security and way of life. It impacts everything from how well our borders are secured and our neighborhoods are protected, to verdicts handed down in courts, to the quality of our roads, schools, and other government services. And it takes a significant toll on our pocketbooks, wasting billions in tax dollars every year. The FBI is singularly situated to combat this corruption with the skills and capabilities to run complex undercover operations and surveillance. You can help the FBI by pointing out anybody that uses any source of tax money or public property to profit personally at the taxpayer's expense. If they're using county property to have people support them instead of the taxpayers the land is owned by, then they very well could be committing a crime called conversion. Locally, Richmond County had to raise taxes to cover a tremendous amount of conversion of public money and assets into personal Columbia County checking accounts. One local suspect even appears smiling and happy on your TV screen, telling you one thing, when 3 real scientists correct her to short-circuit her scam. This local white-collar crime suspect has been reported committing fraud by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So why don't the police arrest her? It takes a while for police to put all the pieces of the puzzle of the white-collar crime enterprise together. Also, there are some very powerful people not letting the investigation go forward. Because police are not trained to recognize all the different forms of white-collar crime at first, but recent developments and a little too much greed could be bringing things to a head. So the police can see the conversion of public assets into personal gain with their own 2 eyes. Stay tuned for developments on this and other felony white-collar criminal conspiracies that reach into everyone in the entire CSRA's pocketbook. Even if you don't pay taxes, you're being stolen from by someone who is very, very smart. Stay tuned for what may be startling developments in a local suspected white-collar criminal conspiracy of some of the richest and most powerful people in the entire region. If you know of anyone converting anyone else's assets into their personal gain against the will of the victim, please call the FBI, Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text your tips to 803-441-UP-HIGH, which is 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous and you keep your stuff. Richmond County Sheriff's deputies and an Augusta Family Dollar need your help finding the black male suspect you see on your screen. Deputies say he pried open the doors of the Family Dollar located at 2310 Milledgeville Road. Then the black male suspect you see on your screen took 5 boxes of Gain detergent and a coat from that Family Dollar on August 31st. Yes, nobody told him he should have stole Tide. Then he pried open the doors again on September 9th and took more items. But deputies say those items were recovered. The sheriff's office reports he's now wanted for second-degree burglary. If Family Dollar or anyone else with this type of door wants to prevent this, all they have to do is block the gap in the door with aluminum plate or any other suitable piece of metal plate that keeps the pry bar from being inserted between the doors. If you think you know who or where this black male burglary suspect may be, please call investigator Rolf Kramer at 706-821-1020. Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text your tips to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous and keep prices low.
And now, this Crime Reports and Rewards special report.
Wisconsin residents are now being told by police, don't worry, we're not going to shoot you with our new militarized police vehicles. That's right. SWAT team leader Lieutenant Jeff Malcor felt that it was necessary to relay the fact that the vehicle's gun turret had been removed and that the truck wouldn't be used to mow down the locals. He said, we have no ability to shoot out of it. All it does is allow us to get from one place to another so we can deploy our people, or if there's firing coming in, we can back up to a window or something to get people out. But the fact that the authorities even need to make this point just underscores the fact that this is getting out of hand. There is increasing concern over militarization of the police. Last week we reported that there was concern coming out of Indiana. Now this is Wisconsin, okay? So why are these small towns in the Midwest getting these militarized police vehicles? Why are they saying there's this domestic terrorism and massive civil unrest going on in Wisconsin and, you know, places like that where it seems to be very quiet, sleepy American towns? But they're not the only ones that are making promises to the people that they're not going to harm them with their weaponry. The CIA is also making promises. The White House now vows that the CIA will no longer conduct hoax vaccine programs as a cover for their spy operations. Isn't that nice? They've promised they're no longer going to hand out fake vaccines. Now, this tactic was used in the hunt for Osama bin Laden. They staged a fake Hep B campaign for kids. This way they could take DNA samples from children that were living in the Abbottabad compound and be able to compare them with bin Laden's recently deceased sister. This way they could prove if bin Laden was living there or not. Now, after the vaccine hoax was revealed, violent attacks against immunization workers resulted in the death of 56 people in the last year and a half. And of course, the Taliban violently opposed the polio vaccine program. They were saying that it was a way for the West to sterilize women, as well as a cover-up for foreign spying. Now, I'll have a more in-depth report detailing this particular story, but unfortunately, the Taliban isn't wrong about these vaccines being used for mass sterilization programs. This is happening in many countries. It's all part of the globalist plan. So now we have, of course, this new polio outbreak happening there in Pakistan, and that is a direct result of the CIA using these hoax vaccine programs. So they're abusing their trust. And of course, you have these humanitarian workers and a lot of humanitarian aid that is now being compromised because the CIA and the government is trying to, take people's good humanitarian efforts and use them as for war tactics. But if the CIA says, don't worry, you can trust us now, we're not going to do that anymore.
The recent use of weapons of war on the streets of Boston and now in several other parts of the U.S. has some debating if police should use weapons of war. We say they have every right to defend themselves using whatever means that they can. However, with 9/11 fast approaching and radical Islamists saying they have a secret in to defeat America, we have to face our worst fears. The greatest danger this free equipment may pose is to the police who have it in their possession. Recent appointments to the Obama cabinet of openly Islamic advisors that openly hold themselves out to be part of the Muslim Brotherhood are causing intel experts to lose a lot of sleep. The same brotherhood that hijacked the planes and flew them into the Twin Towers and now make up the terrorist army called ISIS is rumored to have taken over the White House. Being the Obama nation tricked us into thinking we can keep our health care plans, what if this equipment turns out to be a modern-day Trojan horse? If a government intent on quelling discontent wanted to quell all resistance, they would plant armor in every town they could and keep a spare set of keys. Well, that's exactly what they did. The government that has already lied to us has a spare set of keys to every one of these weapons of war. They can dispatch a very small group to each war machine, tell the police they're there to inspect it, take it over by force, i.e. double tap each Leo, or hold their families hostage. We want our Leos to have the best of the best, but not at the cost of placing them and their families in harm's way. If some out-of-town Leos want to inspect our equipment, treat the inspection with as high a security level as you can muster. We never know if our enemies have a pre-prescribed date to take over this equipment. Remember, 9/11 is coming up, and it looks like there are traitors in charge of our country. Hint, hint, hint. So, could Obama and other top Washington insiders take over? The answer is that with as little as a few hundred folks, our entire nation could be held hostage with our own weapons as long as they're able to trick the police. Now, an ex-CIA employee admits President Obama is a radical Islamic enemy of America. Obama's father was Muslim, which de facto makes him a Muslim, and he is considered Muslim in the Muslim world. Obama was raised a Muslim and went to Islamic school in Islamic country, Indonesia, from the ages of 6 to 11. He was tops in his Quran class. Obama was previously quite religious in Islam. He is pro-jihad, and it is clear in his foreign policy. There's a reason he attacks and punishes Israel while allowing the Islamic State to grow and conquer. While there has been a sudden chorus of politicians and military experts calling for the immediate elimination of the terrorist army after it beheaded some American journalists, Lopez believes the U.S. should have an overall strategy in place before fully re-engaging in the Mideast. Lopez felt it was impossible to understand why the president and some of his top appointees, such as CIA Director John Brennan, who is believed to be a Muslim convert, consistently seem to apologize for Islam even in the face of such atrocities as reporter beheadings, adding, they take pains to assure the world they don't think ISIS, or whichever perpetrator it was, has anything to do with Islam. How can they possibly believe that genuinely when everything these jihadis do tracks directly to the literal text of the Quran, Hadith, and Sharia law? In any case, and for whatever motivations, there is no doubt this administration switched sides in what used to be called the global war on terror. Now, we had a blogger from the Augusta Chronicle respond to this type of story, and this is what he had to say. Geez, Flippa, you went a little further on your predictions than I did. You're certainly on point with the Trojan horse theory. Several years ago, when I first learned this admin purchased all these tank-like vehicles with over-the-road capability, my first thought was that these would be used on American citizens to discourage resistance to the takeover of the U.S. by this administration. I don't know if you are in law enforcement or have been, but maybe you have some insight into whether or not you believe our fine officers would carry out any adverse actions against innocent civilians. Possibly if their life or family were threatened, they would have little choice. I never, in all my years on this earth, thought we would have a conversation like this, which we responded, "Thank you, Hop Toad. We are shocked at the events unfolding. If we did not have access to worldwide intel, we would have never brought it up. But it's better safe than sorry. The police have to be right 100% of the time. The bad guys only need them to drop their guard once. In better times, this would be a ridiculous suspicion, but these are not better times. That's why we want you to be very nice to our police officers, because in the near future, as they may have to decide between choosing life for you or their loved ones."
You've been watching Crime Reports and Rewards with Griff Griffin and Dave Michaels, where you stay anonymous. The criminals don't. If you have any information on these or any other crimes, call our national tip line at 1-800-222-TIPS. Well, you'll stay anonymous and could get a cash reward. You can see this or any other episode of Crime Reports and Rewards on the web anytime at crimereportsandrewards.com. Crime Reports and Rewards is a production of Michaels Media.